Tonight, the dire warning for all Territorians. Our COVID chaos will get worse before it gets better. NT Police to tread lightly for now, but won't rule out fines for COVID rule breakers. Businesses call for government support with the lockdown to hit them where it hurts most. Has a horror race fall put this year's Darwin Cup Carnival in doubt? We have the latest. And in a 9 News exclusive, NT Senator Sam McMahon.
This is 9 News Darwin.
Good evening. The Northern Territory is bracing for further COVID cases and will remain in lockdown until the end of the week after recording a second locally acquired case. And for the first time in the pandemic, Darwin has listed exposure sites, which is said to have a major effect on residents as well as businesses. Kathleen Gazzola begins our special coverage.
It's the news Territorians had been dreading.
The risk to the community has grown in the past 24 hours. We are now in an extremely critical period.
After spending their first night in lockdown, it was hoped it would only last another 24 hours. But with the recording of a second locally acquired case, authorities had little choice but to extend it for another 72 hours.
That means for the Darwin, Palmerston, Darwin rural areas, the lockdown has been extended to 1 p.m. on Friday.
The new case, a 50-year-old Darwin man, is considered a close contact to yesterday's Palmerston case. A miner as well, he'd left the Granites gold mine in Central Australia on Friday, 25 June. It's estimated he'd been infectious in the community for 36 hours before being notified he was a close contact and heading to Howard Springs. The positive result:
his time in the community included an extended period of close contact with 7 friends, mainly at a private residence in Rapid Creek. Those 7 people are now being transferred to Howard Springs for isolation and testing and are considered high-risk contacts.
Of great concern, though, he also attended the Buff Club on Friday afternoon. Authorities now classing the pub as a high-risk exposure site. Anyone who went to the club between 3:30 and 8 p.m. are now required to isolate for the full 14 days and get tested. Household contacts must also isolate for 2 weeks.
Once we have firm idea of numbers, we will report them to you, but right now we believe there will be as many as 150 close contacts from this site.
The government has identified several casual contact exposure sites. Stewart Park Corner Store on Friday between 3:20 and 3:30, Bunnings on Bagot Road on Saturday morning between 10:30 and 10:40, Commonwealth Bank on Smith Street also on Saturday between 11:30 and 11:45, and Parat BWS between 11:50 and 12:10 on Saturday. Everyone at those sites are required to get tested and isolate until a negative result. And Darwin Airport has been classed as a low-risk site for Friday between 1:30 and 3:35, with travellers told to monitor for any developing symptoms.
So we're now concerned about those people they've been in contact with, and we are, as you can imagine, working extremely hard day and night to pursue those people.
Authorities describing it as a race against time, confirming the cases are the highly infectious Delta strain. And today, a major casualty. Territory Day celebrations officially, both public and private fireworks, on hold.
We will not be celebrating Territory Day on the 1st of July, but we will celebrate it soon. I promise you. It's not cancelled, it is delayed.
The outbreak now going international, with the New Zealand government confirming 2 close contacts to the original minor case are in isolation, with one returning a negative result. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern defending the hold on the travel bubble.
What happened in New South Wales and potentially Northern Territory had the potential to almost be a starburst event where things and people move very quickly.
Mr Gunner, though, hoping Territory contact traces are faster. Kathleen Gazzola, 9.
As parts of the top end face some of the toughest lockdown restrictions in the country, authorities are tonight praising Territorians for following the rules. Anti-Police admitting the changes are difficult, telling 9 News it has no plans at this stage to start handing out fines.
A hard border dividing the top end and bolstering the barrier against the Territory's virus threat. At Acacia Hills and Adelaide River roadblocks, cars turned around, plans in disarray.
It's pretty scary actually, yeah. pretty scary.
NT Police flipping its focus back to the COVID frontline. 6 top-end stations and the Darwin Watch House closed as patrols ramp up, masks handed out.
It's not our intentions to go out and enforce, it's our intentions to go out and educate people.
From an empty waterfront to eerie Nightcliff and abandoned Smith Street Mall, tight restrictions today respected by the majority.
A lot of people wearing their masks have been very vigilant.
Receiving praise from our top cops.
In terms of compliance, generally it's very good.
But while most followed the rules...
Had a morning walk this morning, so you just got to make the best of it, I guess.
We just went shopping, a far more pleasant experience than yesterday.
A handful, not so much.
Well, I'm doing my best, yeah, but I'm properly.
Authorities not ruling out future enforcement if breaches persist, but say it's a last resort.
If people continue to flout the rules and they continue to flout after we've given them plenty of education, then that leaves us no option.
Roadblocks will now remain in place until restrictions are reassessed on Friday. Authorities warning these motorists travelling into the hotspot there's no coming back until then. Essential services are allowed to cross with correct paperwork, but there are concerns for some residents on the edge of the hotspot zone with reports of low food stock.
Your most appropriate pathway to go shopping is to head south, so to Adelaide River, Pine Creek if you have to go that far, but even if you necessarily have to go to Katherine.
Police empathising it's a difficult time, asking Territorians to continue doing their bit.
That's what it's all about, keeping everyone safe.
A little pain for inevitable gain. Talia Sav, 9 News.
The news of the lockdown being extended for a further 72 hours is expected to hit the hospitality industry hard, with many businesses now turning to takeaway. The question of government support becomes more pressing.
Bars on Mitchell Street emptied out.
Everybody's going out for a beer. I find that the best thing ever.
A mad scramble before Darwin's main street turned into a ghost town. Hospitality left in the lurch, given a 90-minute warning to the lockdown.
We prepped a lot of food, like for the week, for today, and then for the next week. Yeah, but now it's all have to throw away in the bin.
The reality is our members are now looking for advice on standing down staff, running down their stock again, without some of those federal government supports that were existing last time.
The Coffee Man only opened on Mitchell Street last Wednesday. While off to a great start, the majority of its CBD customer base is now working from home.
It's just break my heart, like it's a new business I'm opening and suddenly we can't operate as per normal.
The Gunner government has introduced a one-off payment of $1,000 to help out, but businesses must have a turnover of less than 10 million, less than 20 full-time staff, and have stopped trading or suffered a 50% drop in turnover.
There's an issue with the 20 FTE, the full-time equivalent employee cap. That rules a lot of these pubs and clubs that are shut down now for at least 5 days and maybe longer from support.
If we go past the Friday, then there might be another number of things that we might need to consider in terms of essential workers or essential stalls or hardship payments or welfare payments.
Despite it being a Monday, this bar on Mitchell Street would normally be overflowing with people. But even though the beer has stopped flowing, that hasn't stopped the drinking. At some points, lines for takeaway alcohol longer than those for COVID testing.
Yeah, no doubt, we are Territorians.
Well, let's go live now to Amy Clements. And Amy, what more can you tell us about the situation on the ground right now?
PT, the testing clinic here at the Netball Stadium in Marara has been brought back to life to provide additional testing capacity. Cars are filtering through. It will be open until 8 p.m, reopening at 8 in the morning. Bookings must be made online. It is drive-through only, and it's not only those people who have been at the exposure sites that are urged to come forward for testing, but anyone who develops symptoms, given that we're dealing with the highly infectious Delta strain. PT.
If only they sold beer there as well. Thank you, Amy. Larrakia Nation has increased patrols in the Darwin area to explain the COVID lockdown rules, particularly to those with no fixed address. Crews handing out masks and PPE gear, as well as moving people into suitable accommodation. 300 masks were distributed on the night shift patrol, with 10 crews on the road today.
Over 90% of our clients that we've had contact with are wearing masks. People are realising that, yes, it is here, and yes, they are at risk and they need to take action.
Non-essential travel to Indigenous communities has been suspended for the remainder of the lockdown. The Territory's COVID outbreak has forced the government to make some tough decisions today. Let's go live now to Health Minister Natasha Fyles at Parliament House. And Natasha, why exactly has the lockdown been extended to Friday?
Unfortunately, now we know that we have a case of this highly transmissible Delta strain that has been out in our community through no fault of their own. And so you can see the contact tracing work that is now underway, and we urge any Territorian who has been at those locations to follow the instructions so that we can give the top end the best chance of having the least number of cases with this virus.
Yeah, sure. Is there any chance the lockdown could be extended past Friday?
It's too early to tell, but what we can say is that if people follow that advice, so please look at that website, look at those locations, go back over what you did on the weekend, and if you are one of those contacts, please immediately isolate, get yourself tested. If you have any symptoms of the virus whatsoever, we know that it now has been in our community, get yourself tested. The sooner we have this information, that will help our health authorities in making the decisions to keep Territorians safe.
Now, from what you know, can we expect any more positive cases tonight?
So our health authorities are working around the clock. They've worked through the weekend. As soon as we have more positive cases, that information will be shared with the community. So far we have the one additional case today, but we are expecting more cases considering this is the variant that is transmitting so quickly, and we've seen that interstate, how quickly, if it's left unchecked, it can spread through communities. So we're throwing everything at it to stop this virus in our community.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Natasha Fyles, our Health Minister, thank you for being live there for us tonight. Thank you.